Welcome to the Eczema Warrior Podcast. I'm your host, Julia Chen. I'm here to help you heal your eczema naturally so you can finally live your best damn life. Many years ago in my own eczema healing journey, I was stuck and confused on how to heal my skin. Fast forward to today, after many lessons learned and lots of trial and error, I'm now living my best life and traveling the world with clearer skin. If you're an eczema or TSW warrior who desires a life of food freedom and is wanting to heal your skin without steroids while using mindset and manifestation as a tool, you're in the right place. Now let's get into it. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Eczema Warrior Podcast. This is episode 3, and I'm so excited to talk about today's episode. However, before I get into it, I have a life update as always. So some of you who are following me on Instagram, you probably have seen me traveling Guatemala over the past few weeks, and I recently just got back home to Canada, where I am originally from. So I landed last week in Vancouver, and over the past week, it has been pretty hectic. First of all, from going into a much colder country compared to Guatemala, my skin and body just does not like cold weather. So I went through a little bit of a teeny flare because of the whole weather change, but all is good. And I'm basically just trying to adjust being back home because if you may have heard me talk about this on Instagram, but I'm actually moving. I am officially moving out of Canada and I cannot freaking believe it. I literally decided to make this decision halfway through my trip. Actually, no, not even halfway. I would say like 3/4 into my trip. I was like, I am meant to be somewhere warm. I am meant to live somewhere else than Vancouver. Vancouver has always been my home because I came here since I was a baby, 6 months old, and I grew up here. Have all my best friends are here, my parents are here, my sisters are here. However, after running my business for 2.5 years, I realized I could literally be doing this in a warmer climate, right? I just need my laptop, I need my filming tools, and my iPhone. And that's all I really need. And for those of you who don't know, I was in a long-term relationship prior to traveling, and that ended last year. And so the only reason why I was in Vancouver was, of course, I was with my partner. But now that I'm single and now that I can do whatever my heart desires, and I literally fell in love with Central and South America, I'm like, I want to go back. Either there or somewhere else in the world that's hot. I'm going to keep this a secret before letting you guys know exactly where I'm going to move. But just know that my biggest life update right now is I'm moving out of Canada. So it's been hectic over the past week. I'm packing all my things. I'm also trying to get all my appointments figured out and all my moving situation figured out as well. So it's been busy, but a good kind of busy because I'm excited. I'm going to be living in a whole different country. And yeah, that's my life update for this week. Okay, the other life update that I almost forgot, oh my goodness, like how could I forget this? That it was my 30th birthday last weekend and it was so great. I literally landed back home in Vancouver from Guatemala and then 2 days later celebrated my 30th birthday. My friends have been planning this birthday over the past month and we went out to this really beautiful restaurant in Richmond, had really good dinner, had really good drinks. My friends set up balloons and gave me flowers and got me really amazing gifts. It was so much fun. Of course, when I got back, my friends were really excited to see me. So everybody wanted to go crazy and we drank a little bit too much, which is probably why my skin didn't really like it the next day, but all is good. Had lots of fun. We went for dinner and then we went to a different bar to have more cocktails. So that was fun. And then the day after, I ended up going out again because it was a long weekend here in Canada. And my other friend wanted to go to this after party for the show. And I was hesitant at first, but ended up going. And again, stayed out so late. I don't think I got home until like 4 or 5 in the morning. And I actually had a discovery call the next day. That actually went really well, but hopefully she wasn't able to tell that I was very hungover. But other than that, the weekend was great. It was definitely very wild. Not something that I usually do. I'm usually pretty low key, but 30th birthday, you got to celebrate, right? Okay, so let's get into today's episode on the top 5 tips for healing eczema. Now, the reason why I actually wanted to create this podcast episode is because I get a lot of questions every day about what to do when it comes to healing eczema. And because there's so many different things you can do to heal, of course, I want to share with you guys my top 5 tips. So these are the same tips that I personally apply into my healing journey and has helped me heal the fastest. And it's also the same tips that I recommend my clients as well. Now, of course, I always have to say everyone's body is very different. So just because something worked for me or my clients doesn't necessarily mean it'll work for you. However, I have made a list of 5 things I want to share today. And the very first one when it comes to healing eczema is to remember that mindset is more important than diet. Okay? Mindset is more important than diet. And the reason why I say this is because I think as an eczema and TSW warrior, we get very hung up with all the diets, what to eat, what not to eat. Are there vegetables to avoid? Should I eat fruit? Should I avoid protein? Should I avoid fats? And it gets really, really overwhelming. And one of the tips I'm going to share is about diet, but I want you to remember that diet isn't the end all be all when it comes to healing eczema. If it was the end all be all, if diet was really the one thing that heals eczema, then everybody would be doing so well and everybody would be healing, right? But we know that's not the case. And so my very first tip on why mindset is more important is because oftentimes when we focus so much on the diet, we get actually really stressed out and we get overwhelmed. And when you get stressed out and overwhelmed, then you're going to notice your skin's going to flare. Because of the relationship between stress and eczema, we know how stress impacts the skin. Now, when you're going through a flare and having a bad day and you just want to curl up in bed and cry and just be upset, you have to remember that at the end of the day, those are your feelings and your emotions, and your diet is not going to be the one to get you out of that situation, right? What really helps you feel better is your mindset in those dark days. Of course, it makes sense. We all have days where we need to cry and be upset, but we also need to remember that mindset really plays a big role here, right? Mindset's going to be the one thing that helps you get through the day. It helps you get through the flare-ups. It helps you not stay negative, hopefully, right? And when you focus more of your attention on your mindset rather than your diet, you will notice that you'll become less stressed and less anxious about what to eat and what not to eat. And so that's why my very first tip is to remember that focusing on your mindset is very important, and it's going to be more important than diet because it is honestly the foundation when it comes to healing. I always use an example of a house. When you're trying to build a house, you start from the bottom where the construction workers lay down the concrete and the foundation. And so when they want to build a house, you have to make sure that this foundation is solid before building the walls, before building the roof, etc., etc., etc. Now, think about mindset and healing your eczema at the same thing. You can't start adding diets and supplements and avoiding all these things when you don't have a solidified mindset. Because when the diet doesn't work, when the random supplements don't work, then you are going to have a really hard time with the healing. Versus if you solidify the mindset first, start trusting yourself, start believing in yourself, and working through your limiting beliefs, then you're going to have a solid foundation so that when you add on the diet and supplements, it's not going to be overwhelming and it's going to be a lot easier for you. So that's my first tip when it comes to healing eczema is focus on your mindset And remember that it's more important than your diet. My second tip for healing eczema is to remember that adding in foods is more important than removing foods out of your diet. We have to think of healing eczema not just to go on an elimination diet or to avoid dairy and gluten and sugar, and that's all you do. We also have to remember that your body needs nutrients and your body needs whole foods. It needs protein, it needs fats, it needs fiber. So the tip for healing eczema is to make sure that you're getting lots of variety in your diet, that you're getting enough protein, that you're getting enough fats. The more nutrients you have in your diet through variety, then the faster your eczema is going to heal and the faster that you're going to notice the inflammation becoming less and less. When you have a diet that is more wholesome and balanced, you are just going to feel better as well. You're going to feel more full. You're not going to be craving sugar and processed food. You're just going to feel more energized as well. So everything else heals when your diet feels good to you, right? We never want to be on a diet where it makes us feel miserable, where we feel hungry, where we feel unfulfilled. The moment that your diet makes you feel that way, that's when I want you to really reflect on, okay, is this something that is sustainable, or am I just doing this because you heard it from the internet, for example, right? Make sure that whatever you're doing with your diet actually fits into your lifestyle and you actually are able to follow it forever. Moving on to the third tip for healing eczema is to remember that the gut impacts the skin. All about the gut-skin connection. So I'm sure some of you have heard about this, but your gut is basically the center of everything when it comes to your energy, when it comes to your digestion, when it comes to your immune system. All of these things start in the gut, as well as your skin health, of course. Now, your gut is an organ that has many different microbes. There's good bacteria and there's also bad bacteria. Now, when you have a wholesome diet, as I mentioned in tip number 2, then you're feeding the good microbiome. Then you're feeding the good microbes, which is in turn going to help with your skin. On the contrary, if you're restricting your diet and you are not eating enough, for example, then this is actually going to impact the gut microbiome hugely. So how do you support the gut? What can you do, right? Because this gut-skin connection is very important. Everything that you eat gets digested through the gut. And if there are, for example, bad bacteria or allergens or things that aren't supposed to be in your gut, like toxins, that can actually be released into the circulatory system. And when that gets leaked into the circulatory system, and that happens because your gut is compromised and the gut becomes leaky, this is when you start to notice inflammation. And this is when you start to notice eczema, as one example, because of the gut-skin connection. So we have to be mindful of what we put into our bodies as well. So adding in the whole foods feeds the good gut. It gives the variety of nutrients that your gut microbiome and the gut lining actually needs in order to heal. Because if you don't have a healed gut, then you're going to notice symptoms, not just on the skin, but also other symptoms like bloating, gas, diarrhea, constipation, headaches. Those are just some examples of having a poor gut. So that is my third tip when it comes to healing eczema, is to focus on gut healing and understand that there is a huge connection between the gut and skin. Everything that you eat, the supplements that you take, medications even impact your gut health as well. And all of that can reflect on the skin. The better your gut microbiome is, the better your gut health is, the better your skin is going to be. Moving on to my fourth tip for healing eczema is practice self-care. I think this one seems obvious, but honestly, We live in a society where everyone is just so busy and everyone is just on the go all the freaking time. Nobody actually slows down and just spend time with themselves. Like, when was the last time you took yourself out on a date? Or when was the last time you took yourself out on a spa day? Or go for a 90-minute massage? Or get a manicure and pedicure? Or turn off your phone for the day and just sit in silence? I don't know. Lay on your couch, lay on your bed. Because I'm sure you probably haven't done that in a long, long time. Or if you have, then good for you. Because a lot of people don't do that, right? And we need to, because our bodies are so stressed in this world that we're living. We're always in fight or flight mode. We're not sleeping enough. We have kids. I don't have kids, but maybe some of you listening have kids. You have a really busy job. You have a family to tend to. So it can be really stressful on the body. And if stress is the main root cause for your eczema, then obviously one of the top things you have to do is to practice self-care. Now, I will say, even my clients who don't have stress as their number one root cause, I still tell them to implement self-care. Because after working with hundreds of clients, I can tell you probably 90% of them don't practice enough self-care. Self-care isn't just about going for a walk, or it isn't just about sleeping 1 hour early, or not using your phone. Like, those are very basic things. And obviously those things are great. Like, I love walks. Sleeping early is important. But when it comes to eczema flare-ups, and if your skin is at the point where it's flaring a lot because of stress, you need to do more than those things. You need to meditate. Find time in the day to do that, even if it's just 5 minutes. Journal. If you're a very stressed person, you don't have a way to release your emotions, start journaling. Go get some acupuncture done. Hands-on work is incredible when it comes to stress relief and self-care. Maybe it's taking yourself out on a date, going by yourself on a little coffee date or something like that. Maybe it's calling in sick one day at work because you really just are so burnt out from working and not having time off. Doing things that your body really needs, because your skin is going to heal faster the more that you practice self-care. Okay? I feel like I need to do like a separate podcast episode just on self-care, which I will, because it's like one of my most favorite things to talk about. But for the purpose of today's episode, I wanted to share with you as the fourth tip for healing eczema is to practice more self-care. My fifth tip and very last tip for healing eczema, maybe I should have mentioned this one as the first tip, but anyways, these tips aren't in particular order as to which one's more important. All of them are very important. So my final tip for healing eczema is to be able to find your root cause. I think sometimes, or most of the time, people have challenges healing eczema because they don't really know exactly what the root causes are. And doing this yourself can be even more challenging because you may not have the tools to identify your root cause. That's why I always say it's important to work with a practitioner who can help you find your root cause, because truly that is the easiest and fastest way to do so. However, of course, if you don't have the resources to do that, you can try and find your root causes on your own. I mean, if you do a simple Google search, you could probably find a couple root causes that are pretty common with eczema and see if it applies to you. But of course, as I always say, the stuff on the internet is always very general. Now, if you need a place to start when it comes to finding root cause, as I mentioned in the previous few tips, the gut-skin connection is very important. So most people with eczema have gut issues. Even if you don't have any gut symptoms, it doesn't necessarily mean you don't have gut issues. Okay, so if you have to start, addressing your eczema flare-ups from the root cause perspective, I would definitely look into the gut microbiome and digestion and focusing on that. So, there are various different ways in how to support the gut microbiome. As I mentioned, food is important, adding variety, adding nutrients from your diet, but supplements, lifestyle, stress, all of those things are also very important as well, that I'll actually talk about in a different episode, but I just kind of want to throw out some examples for you so you know where to start. So finding your root cause is really key, because when you are able to find your root cause, it is just so much easier to heal flares. And this is exactly what we do inside my program. I help my clients find their root causes. We use a root cause worksheet that's very comprehensive. We look at blood work. I do a physical and clinical assessment so I can actually identify my client's root cause, and then they can start addressing it and then heal their flare-ups, because now we know exactly what to focus on versus guessing. Okay, so a recap of the top 5 tips for healing eczema. Number 1, focusing on your mindset and remembering that mindset is more important than diet, especially if you have been following a diet for a while and you're frustrated, you're not seeing results. Then I encourage you to start from the basics and start from the foundation of focusing on your mindset prior to implementing a new diet. Tip number 2 is to add more whole foods into your diet rather than removing foods. So more protein, more fiber, and more fats. Tip number 3 is to focus on the gut microbiome. Because of the gut-skin connection and how important that is, we want to make sure that we are supporting our gut. We're trying to heal it through food and supplements, and that's going to help a lot with skin healing. Tip number 4 is to make sure you practice self-care. The more self-care that you practice, the more skin healing you're going to notice. And I want you to also remember that do more self-care than you're already doing. Go for a massage. Go take yourself on a date. Go get a mani-pedi. Do something different, because I'm sure your body is going to thank you for it. And then my final and last tip is to make sure you're able to find your root cause. When you find your root cause, you're going to know exactly what to do, and it's just going to make healing a lot easier. Okay, if you guys need help with any of these tips, because I know I just kind of gave you these quick tips today inside this podcast episode, and you want me to dive deeper into it, please let me know. You can join me inside my coaching program, Clear Your Eczema, because these are the exact same tips. We go into detail inside my program. We do a lot of mindset coaching. We dive into the diet. We talk all about the gut-skin connection. We talk about how to actually implement self-care. What are some tools to include for self-care? And then root causes is my jam. Exactly what I do for my clients to help them find their root cause combo. You can check out my show notes. There is a link there to apply for the program. Other than that, if you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to rate and subscribe. If you have more questions, feel free to send me a DM on Instagram at juliachen.rd. I'm happy to answer more questions for you. I really hope you enjoyed today's episode. Hope you found it helpful, and I cannot wait to see you guys in the next one. Thanks for tuning in to today's episode. Now, before I let you go, I want to let you know I have this amazing free eczema visualization meditation. This visualization has helped me so much in my healing. It has helped me manifest skin healing faster than I ever imagined. My clients and I use it. We use it all the time in our group coaching calls, and it's honestly the best tool to use when it comes to healing. Now, if you want this visualization, all you have to do is leave us a review and give us a rating. Take a screenshot of this podcast and your review. Send it to our email at hello@juliachen.com, and you will receive this amazing free visualization. Trust me, you're not going to want to miss out on this one. This visualization has literally changed my life. My clients and I do this every night before bed or even first thing in the morning, and it helps them heal flares faster. Okay, Look forward to hearing your review, and we will see you soon.